Welcome back to Globewise Entertainment, the place where forgotten classics, hidden masterpieces, and cinematic legends come back to life. Today's journey takes us deep into 1967, a year that changed Hollywood forever. These weren't just movies. They were bold experiments, emotional revolutions, and stories so unique that many still feel decades ahead of modern cinema. From psychological thrillers to unforgettable dramas and groundbreaking comedies, these films proved that true greatness never gets old. But before we begin, make sure you subscribe to Globewise Entertainment and join our community of real movie lovers who appreciate timeless cinema beyond the box office. Now get ready, because some of these movies might completely change the way you look at classic Hollywood forever. Long before Disney created giant CGI spectacles, there was The Jungle Book, a magical animated adventure that captured generations with pure imagination and heart. Inspired by Rudyard Kipling's classic stories, the film follows Mowgli, a young boy raised deep inside the jungle by wild animals after being abandoned as a child. But when the deadly tiger Shere Khan returns, Mowgli's peaceful world suddenly becomes dangerous. Guided by the wise panther Bagheera and the carefree bear Baloo, he begins an unforgettable journey filled with music, humor, and hidden lessons about identity and belonging. What makes The Jungle Book special isn't just its colorful animation. It's the atmosphere. Every frame feels alive with charm and personality. The songs became legendary, especially The Bare Necessities, which still remains one of Disney's most iconic moments ever created. While many animated films from the era faded with time, The Jungle Book survived because it wasn't just made for children. Beneath its adventure lies a surprisingly emotional story about growing up, freedom, and finding where you truly belong in the world. What if the biggest success in theater history came from creating the worst show ever made? That outrageous idea became the foundation for The Producers, one of the boldest comedies Hollywood had ever seen in the 1960s. Directed by Mel Brooks in his unforgettable debut, the film follows failing producer Max Bialystock and nervous accountant Leo Bloom as they discover a crazy loophole. If a Broadway show completely fails, they can secretly keep the investors' money. So they intentionally create what they believe will be the most offensive and terrible musical imaginable. But everything goes horribly wrong when audiences accidentally love it. What follows is pure chaos filled with absurd humor, over-the-top performances, and fearless satire unlike anything Hollywood had dared attempt before. At the time, its shocking comedy style divided audiences and critics, but over the years, The Producers became legendary. Mel Brooks proved comedy could be outrageous, intelligent, and fearless all at once. Today, the film is considered one of the greatest comedy classics ever created because it broke every rule and somehow became brilliant by doing exactly that. What happens when a teacher walks into a classroom full of students who have already lost faith in life itself? That's the emotional heart of To Sir, with Love, one of the most inspiring and powerful dramas ever made. Sidney Poitier plays Mark Thackeray, an unemployed engineer who accepts a teaching job in one of London's toughest schools. But this isn't a normal classroom. The students are rebellious, disrespectful, and completely disconnected from authority. Most teachers give up on them. Some are even afraid of them. But Thackeray does something unexpected. Instead of punishing them, he treats them like adults with dignity and respect. Slowly, the walls begin to break. What starts as a battle between teacher and students transforms into an emotional journey about trust, maturity, and second chances. The film became a cultural phenomenon because its message still feels powerful today. Beyond the classroom drama, it quietly challenges racism, social division, and the education system itself. Decades later, To Sir, with Love still feels timeless because real humanity never goes out of style. In 1967, audiences expected crime thrillers to follow simple rules. Heroes talked tough, villains acted predictable, and revenge stories always looked clean and straightforward. Then Point Blank arrived and shattered every expectation. Directed by John Berman and starring Lee Marvin in one of his coldest performances ever, the film follows Walker, a betrayed criminal left for dead after a heist gone wrong. But Walker survives, and now he wants only one thing: his stolen money back. Sounds simple, right? That's where the movie becomes something far stranger and more fascinating. The storytelling feels fragmented, dreamlike, and almost hypnotic. Scenes blur between reality and memory, making viewers question whether Walker is truly alive or trapped inside his own revenge fantasy. The visuals were revolutionary for their time, influencing generations of filmmakers years later. Critics initially didn't know how to react to its strange style, but modern audiences now recognize Point Blank as one of the most influential neo-noir thrillers ever made. It wasn't just ahead of its time. It practically helped create the future of modern crime cinema itself. When Valley of the Dolls premiered in 1967, critics attacked it mercilessly. They called it melodramatic, exaggerated, and completely over the top. But audiences couldn't look away. Based on the explosive best-selling novel, the film dives deep into the glamorous yet destructive world of fame, addiction, and emotional loneliness. The story follows three ambitious women chasing success in Hollywood and New York, only to discover that wealth and celebrity come with a dark hidden cost. The dolls in the title aren't toys. They're pills, symbols of dependency, pressure, and escape. As their careers rise, their personal lives slowly collapse under heartbreak, betrayal, and addiction. What once seemed like exaggerated drama now feels strangely prophetic in today's celebrity culture. The movie exposed the toxic side of fame decades before Hollywood openly discussed mental health and substance abuse. Over time, Valley of the Dolls transformed from a critically mocked film into a cult phenomenon adored for its unforgettable dialogue, emotional intensity, and tragic beauty. It's no longer remembered as campy entertainment alone. It's remembered as a haunting warning hidden beneath glamorous lights. Some movies disturb audiences not through violence, but through silence, tension, and hidden emotions. Reflections in a Golden Eye is exactly that kind of film. Directed by John Huston and starring Marlon Brando and Elizabeth Taylor, this psychological drama shocked audiences in 1967 with its dark exploration of desire, repression, and emotional isolation. Set inside a tense military community, the story follows an army officer trapped in a deeply unhappy marriage while dangerous obsessions quietly grow beneath the surface. Every character hides secrets, forbidden desires, and emotional pain they cannot express openly. The atmosphere feels uncomfortable from the very beginning, almost like watching people slowly collapse under the weight of their own hidden truths. What truly made the film ahead of its time was its fearless treatment of sexuality and psychological conflict during an era when Hollywood rarely dared discuss such themes openly. Audiences back then were confused and uncomfortable, but modern viewers see something entirely different, a daring character study filled with emotional complexity and haunting performances. Today, the film stands as one of the boldest psychological dramas of classic Hollywood cinema. Sometimes the simplest love stories become the most unforgettable. Barefoot in the Park may look like a light romantic comedy on the surface, but underneath its humor lies a surprisingly honest look at marriage, compromise, and the chaos of young love. Starring Robert Redford and Jane Fonda, the film follows newlyweds Paul and Corey, two completely opposite personalities trying to survive their first days of married life inside a tiny New York apartment. Paul is serious, logical, and carefully organized, while Corey is spontaneous, emotional, and full of wild energy. Their personalities clash constantly, turning ordinary moments into hilarious emotional battles. But beneath the comedy, the movie quietly explores how difficult love can become when fantasy meets reality. The chemistry between Redford and Fonda feels natural and timeless, making every argument and romantic moment feel authentic even decades later. Unlike many romantic comedies of its era, Barefoot in the Park doesn't present perfect relationships. Instead, it shows love as messy, unpredictable, and deeply human. That honesty is exactly why audiences still connect with it generations later. Most romantic films tell love stories in a straight line. Boy meets girl, romance blossoms, problems appear, and everything builds toward an ending. But Two for the Road completely changed that formula. Starring Audrey Hepburn and Albert Finney, the film follows a married couple during multiple road trips across several years of their relationship. But instead of unfolding chronologically, The movie jumps through time constantly, mixing moments of romance, arguments, happiness, and heartbreak together like scattered memories. At first, it feels unconventional, almost confusing. Then suddenly, the emotional puzzle begins connecting in a deeply realistic way. The film captures something many romances avoid showing: how love changes over time. The excitement of youth slowly transforms into frustration, exhaustion, and emotional distance. Yet beneath all the conflict remains a fragile connection neither can fully escape. Audrey Hepburn delivers one of the most emotionally layered performances of her career, while the film's storytelling style influenced countless modern romantic dramas years later. Today, Two for the Road is remembered not just as a romance, but as one of cinema's most honest explorations of marriage itself. At first glance, thoroughly modern Millie feels like a bright, colorful musical filled with catchy songs, stylish fashion, and playful comedy. But underneath all its charm lies a surprisingly modern story about independence, ambition, and women trying to redefine their place in society. Set during the roaring 1920s, the film follows Millie Dilmount, played brilliantly by Julie Andrews, a young woman who arrives in New York determined to build a new life on her own terms. Unlike traditional heroines of classic cinema, Millie isn't searching for romance alone. She wants freedom, success, and control over her future. Along the way, she becomes entangled in bizarre situations involving missing girls, secret schemes, and unexpected love. The film constantly balances comedy with social commentary while delivering extravagant musical numbers filled with unforgettable energy. Audiences in 1967 were captivated by its glamorous style, but over time, critics began appreciating something deeper. The movie quietly challenged old-fashioned gender expectations while celebrating individuality and independence. Today, thoroughly modern Millie remains one of Hollywood's most entertaining and unexpectedly progressive musicals from the golden age of cinema. Long before modern films openly discussed broken marriages and family dysfunction, Divorce American Style dared to turn one of society's most uncomfortable realities into sharp, intelligent comedy. Directed by Bud Yakin and starring Dick Van Dyke and Debbie Reynolds, the film follows a seemingly normal suburban couple whose marriage slowly collapses under years of frustration, routine, and emotional exhaustion. What begins as simple arguments soon turns into a brutal legal and emotional battle filled with manipulation, social pressure, and painful truths about relationships. But instead of presenting divorce as pure tragedy, the film uses satire to expose how absurd and emotionally damaging the system can become. Beneath its humor lies surprisingly dark commentary about marriage expectations in American society during the 1960s. Audiences at the time were shocked by how openly the film challenged traditional family values, but that boldness is exactly why it still feels modern today. Divorce American Style wasn't just making people laugh. It was exposing uncomfortable realities many couples secretly lived through. Decades later, its themes about love, resentment, and personal freedom remain surprisingly relatable and emotionally honest. And that wraps up our journey through the top 10 must-watch Hollywood movies of 1967 that still feel ahead of their time. These films weren't just entertainment. They were cinematic risks, emotional experiments, and groundbreaking stories that changed Hollywood forever. Some were misunderstood. Some became cult classics. But all of them proved one thing: true cinema never grows old. Now we want to hear from you. Which movie from today's list surprised you the most? And what other classic films deserve a place in Part 2? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed discovering these timeless masterpieces, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to Globewise Entertainment for more hidden gems, forgotten classics, and untold Hollywood stories. Until next time, keep exploring the magic of cinema.